Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dylan James. I'm a mindset coach that loves to focus on relationships and help people break unhealthy patterns, get out of toxic cycles, repair relationships, or just completely move forward and create new experiences for themselves. Now, when we're looking at mindset, which is, you know, composed of two things, our belief system, the identity that we're existing in, as well as what our nervous system is attuned to and has normalized as our experiences. When we're looking at mindset, really the only thing we have to take into consideration is how we're organizing ourselves each day, how we're showing up, and how we're responding to life. We're the ones creating our life. And if we are finding ourselves in negative patterns, the common denominator there is the individual that is perpetuating those patterns, regardless of person, place, or thing. At this point in my online career as a coach, I have coached well over 1,000 people. And so I'm going to talk about what I have recognized as patterns within clients, as well as individuals that may be commenting on my channel, and the only place that you need to place your focus. Now, it's really interesting because when I do a coaching session with somebody, I have to take into account not only their current circumstances and current circumstances, including circumstances that they're in now, as well as circumstances they've experienced throughout their adult life, but also foundational experiences that have built their identity. And one common thread that I've seen amongst every person essentially that I have coached, whether they have sabotaged a relationship, whether they have somebody that they're in a relationship with that is not treating them properly, or whether they want to move on from a relationship, is if they can take a step back from the current set of circumstances that they're in and observe their life in its totality and how their foundational experiences have shaped them, then they will very clearly see patterns of the experiences they had growing up translating into their adult life through their adult relationships into current circumstances. Now, it's not always a direct reflection. In many cases, it is, but there are usually tonalities or dynamics formed that are very, very, very similar. And so when it comes to making mindset adjustments and creating solutions within your life, the approach that you take matters. We can wake up each day and remain externally focused and try to change the people around us, which you're going to find doesn't really yield you, very sustainable or good results. Or you can look at the causation of the patterns within your life and critically assess where did those patterns originate and what actually needs to be adjusted within myself. Essentially, what I'm saying here, whether you have sabotaged a relationship, whether you're not being treated properly, or you want to move forward from whatever circumstances you're in, you need to realize that the only person you need to focus on and adjust is yourself. Now, when you're assessing your life experiences, it's very useful to look at each experience as though it is a concept. So, when you're looking at your foundational experiences, the household dynamic that you grew up in, your father is going to be the concept of men, your mother is going to be the concept of women. The example that they set is the template you hold for relationships, as well as the individual dynamic you have within your household sets the template for relationships. And that could be things like boundaries, wants and needs being met, um, being able to assert yourself, say no, right? Normalizing being heard, seen, respected, healthy communication. There's quite a few concepts that can go into that, okay? Likewise, in your adult relationships and adult experiences, it is equally as useful to look at those situations, pull out of these specifics, and look at it like concepts, really assessing the man or the woman that you're with, the things that have occurred, and what that could indicate from a belief standpoint. Now, when it comes to identifying your beliefs or adjusting your beliefs, this can be a little bit difficult, and I'm not trying to say this in a limiting sense, because there's a huge difference between our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. Meaning, on a conscious level, we can have particular thoughts and ways of viewing certain situations that may not necessarily fully match what our beliefs are. And in my opinion, that's because there's some social context that goes into our conscious rational thought with what we deem appropriate or inappropriate. So we kind of filter ourselves and intrinsically kind of lie to ourselves about where we actually are, because to not do so on a conscious level would be conflicting from a social perspective. And what I'm saying is, the easiest way to figure out what your beliefs are is to look at your behaviors. This is likewise for other people as well too. Instead of looking at their words, you want to look at their behaviors. Being able to decode and understand what behaviors are pointing towards is a very, very useful skill. So when you're assessing your adult experiences as well as your foundational experiences, you want to look at how circumstances have evolved and what the actions that have happened say about an individual's beliefs. Whether it be how a person is treating you, what does that say about the beliefs they hold, and how you're responding to it, what you're accepting or not accepting, what does that say about the beliefs that you hold? When it comes to creating solutions, again, and this is across the board, I'm going to reiterate myself. Whether somebody has sabotaged a relationship, whether they're getting treatment that they don't like and they want to adjust the relationship and grow, or they want to move forward, the only place you need to put your focus on is yourself and really assessing these things that I'm talking about here, from foundational experiences up into your adult experiences into the current set of circumstances. Now, there is some context here because that needs to be provided, because individuals that have had good foundational experiences, meaning they grew up in a relatively healthy household, or to their recollection, a relatively healthy household, there could be two things that are occurring when they find themselves in negative patterns within their adult life. The first thing is they're not recalling their childhood as accurately as it actually is, because their brain is purposefully leaving out information to mitigate the pain that it may experience by coming into those realizations. Something like psychotherapy could really help with this. Again, this may not always be the case, but if there were certain traumatic things that occurred, this is a very common thing that the brain does in an effort to self-preserve itself and to, again, mitigate pain, especially if an individual grew up in a very dismissive, emotionally unavailable household. They have cultivated a nervous system and way of operating which is dismissive, which could translate into dismissing particular memories and only recalling certain things and not really seeing, the experiences that they went through with a genuinely honest lens. That could be one component. The second component is, and I've seen this with some clients, is when they are in their young adult years, due to being naive and just, young, okay, they find themselves in really toxic situations that are extremely traumatic. And then that in and of itself shifts the belief system that they have, because the longer we stay in a situation, the more repeated exposure we have to a set of circumstances, the more that's going to impact the brain and start to shift our belief system and what our nervous system is attuned to. So that could be the other, contextual thing that could have occurred here, as well as just a traumatic experience that may have occurred somewhere in their life that just negatively impacted them and their worldview. Regardless of whatever the case may be, when it comes to creating solutions, when it comes to adjusting yourself, when it comes to fixing relationships or moving forward, the only person you ever need to focus on is yourself. Okay? Once you identify what needs to be adjusted within yourself, the next thing that you have to take into account is building a consistent routine to introduce these beliefs or this stimulus into your mind, as well as regulating your nervous system, occasionally, so that your body feels safe enough to accept this way of identifying. Now, this does take a bit of persistence, but it doesn't take forever, so long as an individual can accurately identify the beliefs that need to be adjusted and they're disciplined with the implementation of those beliefs, as well as continually relaxing the body so it feels safe enough to take on these new ways of identifying. When it comes to breaking negative patterns, of course, the only person that you need to focus on is yourself, because you are the the common denominator in that, which is a good thing. If we are going about life having negative patterns and we're not the common denominator and life is just happening to us, then we're fucked, right? Like, how do I adjust that? It's just happening to me. So, when you're thinking about these things, you don't want to beat yourself up and you don't want to look down upon yourself and think, oh my gosh, I'm the one creating all these things in my life. Or a better way to think about it would be unconsciously playing into negative patterns because of automatic thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that are driving me towards those experiences. Again, it's not a matter of fault. It's not a matter of beating yourself up. It's just a matter of assessing and seeing, okay, if I'm able to create negative patterns within my life, I can also create positive patterns or positive experiences that I actually want to have. Now, how do I go about that? And I'm telling you right now, how you go about that is by making internal adjustments with how you're identified and cultivating routines that allow for your nervous system to adopt those beliefs and become attracted to, attuned to, and normalizing those experiences that you want to have. I am putting out a brand new workshop that goes over how to do this in depth. I'll post it in my community tab once I have it completed. But again, I really explained essentially what you need to do here in this video, which is assess your foundational experiences, assess the experiences you've had within your adult life, identify what needs to be adjusted within yourself, create new beliefs, and continually influence yourself with those beliefs while also doing nervous system regulation practices to help your body feel safe enough to take on this way of identifying. And of course, if you want to get additional help with that via traditional therapy, then of course, reach out and get that additional help as well too. So do you necessarily need my workshop? No, it just goes into the mechanics and the depths of creating that routine, creating a nighttime recording, daily meditation, all of those things. But again, there's a lot of information on my channel already. So if you've watched quite a few channels or quite a few videos, then I'm sure you can piece it together yourself. Other than that, the main thing that I want you to take away from today's video is whenever you are adjusting your mindset or applying anything, the only person you need to focus on is you. And think about it. If I have just been creating patterns in my life unconsciously, then all I need to do is focus on myself to adjust myself so I create new patterned results. Has nothing to do with anybody outside of you. Okay, so we want to keep bringing the focus here. Also, because you deserve to focus on yourself, right? You deserve to show up for yourself. You deserve to take care of yourself. You deserve to meet your own wants and needs, and you deserve to invest time into yourself each day over focusing on everybody and everything outside of you. You're setting the example in your life. You're the one creating your life. And so you need to give yourself that time to really assess yourself and make the adjustments that you need to make. And then moving forward, you're going to also realize, really, in order to maintain the things that you want to create within your life, you just consistently focus on nurturing yourself, showing up for yourself, and maintaining a healthy belief system. So, whenever you find yourself externally focused, obsessed with people or circumstances, that is a huge red flag, and that should indicate to you that it is time to shift the focus onto yourself and figure out what is actually going on. Why is my brain forcing me to focus externally and obsess over people, places, or things outside of me? What are these things serving as evidence to my current belief system that I need to adjust? Because in no way is that healthy or fair to me to operate each day, living my life focused on everybody and everything outside of me and giving myself no attention. When you think about that from a very literal sense, if you're finding yourself in patterned circumstances where people aren't giving you the time, attention, or meeting of your wants and needs, and you have cultivated a relationship with yourself where you're neglecting yourself, you're neglecting your own wants and needs, and you're not showing up for yourself, it's quite a reflection of what you've normalized with yourself. So that's why I say, moving forward, sustaining the results that you want within your life truly comes from cultivating a healthy relationship with yourself where you prioritize yourself, you show up for yourself, you meet your wants and needs, you build healthy beliefs, and you set the example for how you deserve to be treated in various areas of your life, whether that be romantically, career-wise, interpersonally, social dynamics, whatever it may be. The only person you need to focus on is right here, is in the mirror. And if you can make that adjustment to bring the focus here and do the things that I talked about in this video, you're going to be very happy. All right. I hope you all have a beautiful day, night time, wherever you are. Of course, if you want individual help with this as well too, I do have coaching. Everything is in my description for the link to my website where you can check that out. All right. Love you. Have a good day.